This video is brought to you by Midway USA. Support the channel by choosing Midway for your shooting and outdoor supplies. Welcome to 9-Hole Reviews. Today we're back in the world of optics to take a look at one of the most overshadowed and, as a result, underrated 1-6 LPVOs on the market. This is the Trijicon TR25 Accupoint, a 30mm second focal plane optic that has some of the cleanest glass of any LPVO we've brought on the show, regardless of price point, and is one of the most direct comparable competitors to the Vortex Razor Gen 2. But why is this optic not then a mainstay, known, go-to option in the shooting community? We'll explore that and run the Accupoint through our standard evaluation during this episode. But first, this is your friendly reminder that the show can always use your support. Consider joining us on Utreon and following us on Rumble. Now, let's get on with it. We already alluded to the glass quality here, so let's dive right in. The glass on the Accupoint is some of the nicest, crisp, and vibrant glass we've looked through. It's absolutely the best quality or attribute of this optic. We'd put this up against any premium grade glass out there. You can see the clarity edge to edge is fantastic. The camera does not do this justice. The images are extra sharp and clean. Now, this is Japanese glass, but speaking plainly, it looks more like European-grade glass than Japanese for those who understand that distinction. And next, let's talk about the reticle. We chose the standard mil-dot crosshair of the several different varieties offered. The traditional Trijicon TR25 Accupoint is probably best known for its long post-style reticle, and this is offered on the TR25. But we prefer something which gives us a bit more versatility with more precise firing solutions at range. And look, a traditional mil-dot crosshair certainly isn't precise by most modern standards, but it's a bit more universally useful for us than the long post. This may not hold true for you. In our estimation, the standard offering with the post, or other offerings that run a simple dot in the middle of a clean duplex, are turn-offs for a good number of potential buyers, and for good reason. A vast majority of reticles today are far more usable than simple dots or finite points. Even if you prefer a clean, simple reticle, something that has a few reference points for aiming at distance, such as the Razor Gen 2's reticle set, make it a far more appealing option. But with that said, if you select the mil-dot cross such as we have here, you can have a more usable reticle overall in the Accupoint body. So, in terms of this crosshair's function, it works just fine. It's perfectly fast up close, with the stadia being thick enough to draw the user's eye into the center of the optic, which is lit with a fiber optic dot. The dot is just fine enough that it doesn't get in the way, but bright enough under most daylight conditions that you will see it. With that said, if you're looking for a burning center dot like an aim point, you're going to be disappointed. This dot is far too fine to use in that manner in our estimation. For dark types of shooting, the dot is also tritium lit, but remember that over time, that illumination will fade, and unlike a system that allows you to replace a battery, the tritium's degradation is permanent. Out at range, the mil-dots work as any other mil-dot optic would. The dots aren't so big that they obscure or cover standard chest-sized targets, and they provide a reasonable aiming reference with 5 mils worth of hold, covering most 5.56 guns out to between 5 and 600 yard targets, depending on ammo choice, zeroing distance, and other standard factors, which is also about the max range of where I'd want to be engaging with a 6-power maximum top-end magnification. Next, let's consider the eye box, which on the Accupoint is actually really dang good. We say it lines up almost equally to the Razer Gen 2 through the power spectrum, and that's saying something since the Razer is generally thought of as the gold standard in this area when it comes to an LPVO less than $2,000. The edge might slightly go to the Razer, but that would be by, I don't know, maybe 5% or so. It's not something we could call obvious or meaningful. There would be very few situations where you as an end user would perceive a difference. It is worth mentioning that we've noticed the Accupoint likes to sit a bit further forward on the receiver than most other LPVOs, and we have it mounted up in the LaRue SPRE extended mount here, which pushes it away from the user's eye by an extra inch. If you're strapped for rail space up on your handguard, or you're trying to mount this on an SBR, this might result as it being not the best fit. And so let's take a look next to field of view, and the field of view on the TR25 is extremely solid. At 1 power, you're looking at 117.5 feet, which is right in there with any other premium LPVO and actually edges the Razer out by about 2% on this stat. At max power, the field of view runs at just under 19 feet versus the Razer's 20.5. So again, right in there, stacking up side by side with the Razer. And if we haven't reminded you already, the Razer remains a staple in the LPVO game, still being one of the most popular units available. An area where the Razer has never been the leader, though, is weight. So does the Accupoint actually overtake the Razer in this area? It sure does. The Accupoint shaves off over 2 ounces from the E model or lightened and optimized Razer. That's not insignificant, with the optic coming in at sub 20 ounces. Now, this isn't minimalist optic territory, such as we see coming out of the Nightforce NX8 or the Primary Arms PLX-C, which come in at 17.5 and 17 ounces respectively, but it's certainly a reasonable weight for an LPVO that hits the performance markers on clarity, eye box, field of view, and so on. Now, before we wrap up, we want to run through the controls. As mentioned, there is no active illumination in this optic. It's all done via fiber and tritium. But you can adjust the top dial to change the exposure of the fibers if you feel the dot is blooming on you during the day. Honestly, we leave the cover open almost all the time, even when shooting at distance. That said, the cover is firm and well positioned. It won't move unless it's purposefully adjusted. In terms of controlling the magnification and quickly zooming in and out, the Accupoint does this exceptionally well. The adjustment is smooth, not loose, not tight, just right. The small extension that is built into the power adjustment knob is perfectly adequate for rapid adjustment, and not big enough to get in the way or jab you if you have the rifle slung, for example. You can order additional throw levers if you feel you need more leverage, but we haven't seen that to be an issue. This part of the optic is good to go in our opinion. And lastly, the turrets. In our opinion, the turrets are one of the weaker points for the TR25. They are capped, which is positive, so there won't be any inadvertent adjustment, but the turrets themselves feel a bit chintzy. They remind me of what I'd get on a budget optic in the $300 to $400 range, not a premium LPVO. Now, this isn't to say we've seen or had anything go wrong with the turrets, no slipping or tracking issues at all. This is purely our subjective feelings having handled many different LPVOs. This would not be an area that we classify as premium grade in terms of the look and feel. Is this a deal breaker? No, not at all. It may not really even be a mark against the TR25. So with all that said, why on earth are more people not running the 1-6, especially given the popularity of its little brother, the TR24? Why is it often overlooked or not considered alongside the Razer as a staple of the second focal plane LPVO world? Our best guess is that this comes down to the Trijicon 1-8. The 1-8 was released only a year or so after the TR25 and hit almost the exact same price point. And with how the LPVO market works, most users would gravitate toward the 1-8 by virtue of the more is better mindset when it comes to magnification. Ironically, we're of the opinion that the TR25 Accupoint is actually a far better optic overall as compared to the 1:8 AccuPower. The glass clarity alone is worth giving up the extra 2-power top-end magnification as far as we're concerned. So, if you're hunting for an LPVO and are drawn to the Trijicon brand, perhaps consider taking a look at the TR25, which we'd like to remind you is indeed available on Midway USA, which is where we purchased our Accupoint that we reviewed in this video actually a number of years ago. And with that, we're going to wrap up this episode. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you found the information valuable. And until next time, we'll see you on the range.
716 is Steel 96, 4 Vic, 8 Pax, Redcon 1, green to green, top copy, over.
Steel 96, this is 716, roger, over. 16, Steel 91.